Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey everybody. Hey guys. Jump on. I want to give you what God has given me today, and because I'm unable to do it on Facebook and then share it and download it like I used to, I don't know what happened to that feature. I'm doing it on TikTok, and I'm just going to share it over to Facebook. So what I'm going to do, guys, I want to give you this. I was laying in the bed a couple of days ago, and I was ready to get up, but I was still tired. And I heard, the Spirit of God say to me, lay there until you're ready to get up, right? And so, of course, it was more telepathic than anything, because when God is speaking to you, it's not like, you got to figure out what he's saying to you. You already know. Your spirit is like try the spirit by the spirit, and you understand what God is saying to you, right? So it was like the Spirit of God was saying, lay there until you're ready to get up. Lay there and rest, because you need to prepare for the encounter with God. So we know that when God gives us something, it's just not for us. And I have been struggling with it for a couple of days. Like, God, what do you mean lay there until, I'm ready and get rested to prepare for an encounter with God? Like, what's going to happen? And for a couple of days, I struggled with it, and then God made it clear to me this morning. Guys, if you know anything about 1 Kings 18 and 19, that's what we're going to be talking about. In 1 Kings 18, we know that Elijah went to the king Ahab and said to him, listen, if I'm the only prophet of God left right now, and you have about 450 prophets that serve the idol Baal. And he said, so this is the thing. If you're going to serve God, then serve God. But if you're going to be for God, then be for God. Oh, that's a word for somebody right there, right? If you're going to serve God, serve God. But if you're going to rock with Baal, then you rock with Baal. You rock with the idols. You rock with those that you call God. But I'm going to serve the true and living God. So what he did, he said, okay, let's make this interesting. Let's go ahead and do a competition, so to speak. You go get your oxen, you cut it up, slice it up, do what you want to do, throw it on the wood, and then you ask your God to rain down fire from heaven. And I'm going to do the same thing. And if your God be real, he'll show up. But if my God be real, my God is going to show up. So that's what Ahab and them did. That's what they did. Both of them did the same thing. So those prophets that served Baal, Baal, the false god, they said that they did the wood on the altar, right? And they began to call out to their God. And they kept calling out to their God. And their God wasn't answering. They kept calling and calling to the point that Elijah said, wait a minute, you've been doing this all morning. You've been doing this half a day. You've been doing this for a long time. Is your God asleep? He began to taunt them. He said, is your God perhaps on vacation? Do your God need to be awakened? Like, what's wrong with your God that you keep praying to him and he's not answering? So at that point, what happened, guys, is that it's a ritual that they began to do, so the pagan worshipers, that belonged to Ahab, the prophets, they began to cut themselves. Because it's a blood ritual, right? They began to cut themselves, like they were saying, well, God, we're bleeding for you. God, we're doing everything that you told us to do. We're calling on your name. Don't you hear us? And the more they did that, they began to cut themselves until they were bloody. And when I got to that part, I heard God say, listen, so they're sacrificing their own blood. They made a bloody mess. And listen, I need you to contemporize this. They made a bloody mess trying to serve idol gods, and that God still hasn't answered on them. The only thing they was left in was a bloody mess, right? So what happened was, after all of that, Elijah was like, listen, perhaps your God is not going to show up, but I'm going to do the same thing you did so that I can tell you how my God works, the true and living God. So Elijah did the very same thing, and so they poured some water around the altar. The same thing that the false prophets did. They poured water all the way around. And so Elijah said, pour another one. And they kind of like, okay, he's about to overdo it. He told his people, pour it again 3 times. So to make sure that you understand that there's no trickery, there's no confusion, that my God is God. So he did the very same thing. And when he began to call down on the real God and he began to pray, God rained down fire from heaven. Come on, somebody. He rained down fire from heaven so that the false prophets and Ahab became, afraid. It was like, that must be the living God. God showed up. So at that point, when God showed up, Elijah said, now I want you to go ahead and take the false prophets and massacre. I want you to kill all of them. So when he took all the false prophets and he had all of them murdered. Come on, guys, I need you to stick with me. So far, I told you, if you're going to be with Baal, then be with God. If you're going to be with Baal, but if you're going to be with God, because now is the time of chastising and separating. God is now separating the wheat from the chaff. Come on, somebody. He's separating the righteous from the evil because he's ready to do a work. And remember the subject? Be prepared for an encounter with God. So when he did that, all of the false prophets were murdered. They were killed, right? And so what happened was once they was killed, Ahab went back. No, let me stay with it. Hold up. Once they was killed, Elijah said, now let me do this. Let me go on to the mountain. So he went up to the top of the mountain to meet with God. And when he went to the mountain, he went up there and he had told the people, God told him that it was going to rain. So after 3 years of being a desert, no rain, a famine, God told Elijah, he said, look towards the sea. So when Elijah looked towards the sea, he said, God, I don't see nothing. Come on, somebody need to hear this. He said, I don't see nothing. God said, keep on looking. He said, if you got to look 7 more times, keep on looking. So Elijah kept on looking towards the sea until he saw a hint of a cloud. Come on, somebody. Keep looking until you see a hint of a cloud, which is a hint of hope, right? All you need is a word from God, a hint of hope. And so when he saw that little bit of dark cloud, he told Ahab, he said, listen, it's going to rain. The famine is over. It's going to rain. So what happened was, before he could get it out his mouth good, because between Ahab rushing and him running past Ahab with the chariot, listen, between them trying to rush in a hurry. Come on, somebody. I'm trying to let you see what I'm saying. In a hurry, what happened was a cloud storm burst open and it began to rain. That means that as a large cloud from a little bit of cloud burst open, it came quickly and it began to rain. So God quickly did what he said he was going to do. If you are faithful to God and you make up in your mind that you're going to serve God, God will move for you quickly. All you need is a little hint of hope just to see what God is going to do and believe in God, because you cannot have God show up for you if you don't believe who God is. Let me say that again. This is why it's important for you to determine who your God is. Because if you don't believe that God will show up for you, then you can't receive the things that God has for you. Because in order for you to believe that God is going to bless you, you have to have faith that God is who he say he is, right? So what happened was, after it began to rain, right? That was for somebody. I need you guys to keep up. I know I'm moving really quick. But if you go back and read 1 Kings 18 and 19, you'll begin to receive the revelation of what I'm saying. Because so far, I gave you some nuggets that you cannot deny is of God. It's going to bless you, right? So anyway, after that, Elijah decided, listen, he was feeling kind of good about himself. But Ahab went back home and told his wife, Jezebel, what Elijah had did, right? And Jezebel being who she is, you understand what I'm saying? She worshiped false gods. Even though she was the wife of Ahab, she still was a Jezebel. She still committed fornication. She still did the things that she shouldn't have do because she was a idol worshiper. Okay, so what happened was it meant nothing to her. She was who she was, right? She was using her stature to conduct her business for where she was at, being the wife of a king. So by her being who she was, she became very angry that that Elijah had killed all these prophets, right? Because if you want to know the truth of it, it probably was working into her money. It probably was working into their business. It was causing problems with what she had set up with all the people that was worshipers of Baal, right? So she was angry. So she said, let me send a message to Elijah. Tell Elijah, since he did what he did, he's good as dead as those that he killed, right? So what did Elijah do? Elijah became afraid. He became afraid of somebody who didn't even have any power. And that's another thing that we do. We get afraid of the illusion of the devil, forgetting that the devil don't have any power. The only thing the devil can do is give you an assumption of what something is, to present a falsehood, to make it look real by playing on your mind. The devil does not have a spirit of discernment. He does not have any power. But if you don't understand who you are, whose you are, and the image that you made in, and without understanding, then you don't know that. Because the word says that my people perish because of lack of knowledge. So Elijah became afraid of a false illusion of somebody that couldn't even do anything to him. So he took off running, right? He decided to go to the desert because he was afraid that this woman, now God had rained down from heaven, and it showed himself God in the face of the enemy, in the face of your haters, your backstabbers, the ones who's betrayed you, the ones who don't have your interests at best heart, the ones that's trying to trip you up. God had removed all those things from you that you can have a clear path to walk in his power, and you scared of a little old woman that don't even have no power. So he done got off focus, forget what he just experienced, and he running from this woman, Jezebel. So as he began to run to the desert, he ran to what's called a Jupiter tree. And when he ran to the Jupiter tree provides shade for him. Somebody stay with me. That's a ram in the bush. Even in your wilderness experience, where he ran to in the wilderness, God still was being a provider. You ask me how I know, stick with me, right? So he runs to the desert to a Jupiter tree. And a Jupiter tree is a long bush, like a tree that would provide shade. And he laid up under that Jupiter tree, right? And as he was laying there, this is the thing that happened. An angel came to him, and he woke him up. Because Elijah ran back there because he was tired. He was exhausted after fighting and after going through what he was going through. He was exhausted and he wanted to die. So he was laid there and he said, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I don't want to do life no more. It's too much. Life is ghetto. It's ghetto-fied. It's a joke. I'm going through too much. I want out. God, come on and take me out. And so he was laying there asleep in his exhaustion, and an angel came to him and said, listen, get up and eat because you need your strength. Come on, somebody. Go back to the beginning when I said to you that I was laid in the bed, and God said rest until you need to rest, until you are rested because you need to prepare for an encounter with me, with God, right? So I didn't understand at first. So Elijah laying there, he get up and he eat. And because beside him, he got drink, he got cold, he got food, the angel and God has provided for him, right? He go back to sleep again. So when he go back to sleep, he's still resting. The angel, a second angel comes to him and say, Elijah, get up and eat. And so Elijah get up and eat again. And then he's been prepared. You know, he's been prepared by God. So this time, God says to Elijah, what you doing here? Come on, somebody. Why you under this tree when I got work for you to do? Why you laying here having a pity party about where you laid at and what you going through and what has happened? Why are you here, Elijah? And Elijah said, wait a minute, God. I'm here because I do right by you. I live right by you. I'm a prophet of yours. But these people trying to kill me, Jezebel trying to kill me, I'm the only one left of your prophet. Look, I'm tired. I can't find nobody around me that's like-minded like me. I can't find nobody that want to do right. I can't find nobody who has the heart of me like you have the heart of me. I don't have nobody, God. I'm the only one. So God said, okay, listen, I need you to go ahead to the top of the mountain. So Elijah like, what? I need you to go to Mount Carmel. I need you to go to the top of the mountain, right? Mount Carmel might be the other place, but to the cave of the mountain, right? So Elijah said, okay, so for 40 days and 40 nights, because God nourished him in his season of weariness, you understand what I'm saying? He was prepared for the journey. I need y'all to get this. Amen. God bless y'all. I need y'all to get this, right? So in his weary state, some of you are in a situation where you're exhausted. Some of you have been going through a journey that you thought was not necessary. Some of you have felt isolated and alone and like God has forgotten about you. And God says, all I'm telling you is I allowed you. Oh, come on somebody. Hallelujah, God. I allowed you to be where you're at so that I can feed you. Right? Shut it up, Duchess. Shut it up, Duchess. So what it is, guys, is that God has sent an angel in your life. Come on, somebody. I know he sent me my angel. I know he sent me my angel. See, everything ain't what it looked like. God sent me somebody in my life that looks after me, that has taken care of me in my weary season, that has fed me and has given me what I need, has been my best friend, has rocked with me every step of the way. God sent this man in my life in my weary season. And I heard God, and that's why when he speaks through God and say, rest, baby. Rest, baby. I hear God saying it was necessary for you to go through this journey because I needed to hide you for a moment to be able to bring you forward to be prepared for an encounter with God. So you're in a season where you feel like I've gone through so much for what? I've gone through all this for what? And God said it was necessary. Because if I hadn't allowed you to go through this, you wouldn't have been prepared for the encounter that I'm going to help you to bring to other people. You understand what I'm saying? So what you got to do is that in 40 days and 40 nights, Elijah went to the top of the mountain. Come on, somebody, stay with me. After God had nourished him with an angel. You got an angel somewhere on your side that you're not acknowledging. After God has told you to rest. After God has fed you. And now that and see, God could have came before he went to the Jupiter tree. God could have said something to him while he was at the top of the mountain, like, God, why didn't you tell me when I was in your presence back then that this was going to happen to me? Because God is a timely God. God is on time. Your time is not God's time. Revelation is when you get it, but God is always present. Its revelation is on your time. So he wasn't prepared to hear what God had to say to him then. So now that he's prepared and God has nourished him, he can hear from God. So he goes to the top of the mountain, right? 40 days and 40 nights. When he gets to the top of the mountain, he's standing in the cave of the mountain, right? And so he's preparing to hear from God. So an earthquake comes. Come on, somebody, stay with me. An earthquake comes. All hell break loose in your life. Oh, yes, God. All hell break through in your life. Everything that can go wrong, and you think God is in that. But the earthquake happened and you don't see God. God was not in an earthquake, right? So then, one thing happened, two things happened, and then here come a hurricane. I'm sorry, the hurricane happened first. The hurricane happened first. Earthquake, hurricane, all of it. Tearing stuff apart. So now you're saying, God, if it ain't one thing, it's another, but I still don't see God. God was not in the earthquake or the hurricane. So then after all that happened, a fire broke out. But remind you now, Elijah is still staying in that cave, right? He has not come out of that spot of self-pity and depression and loneliness and feeling bad and like, God, why you ain't saying about me? He has not moved from that direction, right? But he's staying in there. And so I have to tell you, as the fire came, there still wasn't any God, right? But then a gentle wind came through, right? A gentle wind. See, that's how God would deal with his people, gently. He don't have to make a whole lot of noise to let you know he's God. He don't have to go and rip everything apart in your life to let you know he's God. He ain't got to do any of that. He can come to you in love. And that's what we misunderstand God. We think that God ought to be this big mean God. People got God twisted. You thinking that every time something bad happened, oh, God did it. Everything good is of God. And when something bad happens, God allows it because the ultimate goal is for you to understand that he's doing it for your good. And anytime you're in God, God is going to work it out for your good. And so then that gentle whisper came and God said to him, Elijah, what are you doing here? You done moved again, but you went into the cave. You didn't come out into the open. You went into the cave because, see, he covered himself in honor of God when God came. But God asked him, what are you doing here? And he said the same thing he said at first. He said, well, listen, God, I'm the only one. I'm the only one seem to want to do right in life. I'm the only one that got to suffer because I'm the black sheep. I'm the only one that people can't seem to understand what's going on. I'm the only one that want to do what's right in this world. Like, I'm the only prophet, and God said, yo, hold up. You ain't the only one. You're not the only one. I got 7,000 more that have not bailed to Baal right there in Israel. I got 7,000 more that called upon my name. I got 7,000 more. Just because you feel like you by yourself don't mean you're not by yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what I want you to do. Because you're tired. I want you to go. And I want you to anoint. He gave the names, right? Let me go and give you the names because I don't remember. But he anointed 3 more people, and one of them was Elijah, who would be his predecessor, okay? His predecessor, right? So he went and he did what God told him to do. But this is the point I need you to understand. God is simply telling you to listen for his instruction. Come on, somebody. Listen for his instruction and prepare for an encounter with God. Because what you think it looks like isn't always what it looked like. God is simply trying to tell you, I can move in your life if you decide that I'm God. Oh, God, come on, somebody. I can move in your life when you stop being lukewarm. When you stop deciding one day I'm going to live for God and the next day I'm going to live for the world. One day I'm going to do what's right and the next day I'm going to skate off and say, God knows my heart. One day I'm going to do this, I'm going to be honest, and the next day I'm going to lie about this. See, God can't work with you if you don't understand which way you want to do. You got to decide that God is God so that God can move in your life. Because ain't nobody going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So what makes you think that God can move on your behalf when you don't believe that he's God? See, the reason why people that say that they don't believe that God is God, because they haven't opened their eyes to see that God is God. And I know that sounds a little confusing, but when you look up in the sky, come on, somebody, and you ask yourself, who hung the sun in the sky? And who caused the moon to rise in the night? And who stops the waters at its borders? And what caused the earth to tilt on its axis? When you ask yourself, who separate the firmament of the water from the sky and the land, because we're all water, you understand? There has to be a separation. That's the same God. And if you know anything about God, you know that you're not the first person to ask, is God real? You're not the first person to ask, can God do it? Because I remember a story about Job, who was perfect in the eyes of God. And I'm far from perfect. And he began to question God, and God had to ask him, who are you? Because was you here when I first called the earth into being? See, the Bible says that a fool cannot understand the things of God. A carnal man cannot understand the things of God because they are stuck on their own intelligence. And anytime somebody is stuck on their intelligence and they are confused, y'all stop laughing at me kicking at this dog on his cage. When you're stuck on your own intelligence, then you become over to an abased mind, meaning that you can't be understanding what God's saying because you made your own self God. So if you're God, then let me ask you something. How come you haven't changed the way that things going in the earth? How come you haven't stopped the wars and the famine? How come you haven't did something about everything that's wrong? If you be God, then you be God. But if you not, then serve the true and living God. So that's how Ahab and Elijah got into all this stuff, because his God couldn't do nothing. And if you're calling on a God that does not move in your life, then you need to understand you're not calling on the true and living God. So God said, listen for the instruction. And while you're listening for the instruction, because he confirmed 3 times for me, between 3 days when I said, God, what do you mean rest? And I had my sister to call me. And I had my mother to call me. And in those 3 days, God confirmed to me twice, I allowed you to rest because I need you to prepare for the encounter with God. So now listen for the instruction. So that's what I'm telling you. In your weary season, listen for the instruction. Because God is giving you these points right here. Then I got to go, guys. I got to clean my kitchen and it's bothering me. I cooked breakfast for me and my baby. So listen. The first thing I need you to remember is that when the false prophets were trying to pull down their God, they made a mess of things. Shut it up, Duchess. They made a mess of things. They began to cut themselves, saying it was a bloody mess. What is the point you want us to get in that, Dr. Michelle? That you will cause death upon yourself and you will go into a whirlwind of trouble when you try to handle yourself. Until there's a bloody mess. Look at this world and everything that's going on. It's a bloody mess because people have turned from God to worshiping them own self like the people of Babylon, doing everything they want to do. They've forgotten God and who God is. But let me tell y'all something. God is real. And hell is real. And we got it twisted about what it is that who we think God is. We have subjected God to be what we are. We don't look at God for who he is. We make God who we proclaim him to be. Because I'm unforgiving, then God must be unforgiving. Because I can judge, God can judge. I'm going to be judgment. But you're doing a self-righteous judgment, not a judgment of God. Because God is this way, then it must mean that I'm made in the image of God, so God got to be this way. You made in the image of God. God is not made in your image. See, we got it twisted. We don't look to study God for who he is. We make God who we think he is. We are short-tempered. We are crazy. We are ill-mannered. We are mean. We are selfish. We are made out of flesh. Nothing good dwells in the flesh. The only good thing inside of us is God himself that makes a difference in who we are. So you have to practice that God and not your God. You understand what I'm saying? So make up in your mind who you're going to serve this day. Right? That's why they made a mess of God. The other thing I already said, you got to believe in God for God to move on your behalf. The third thing is to show up. Show up. If you're tired, then let God know you're tired and then rest. And God will will send a ram in a bush. He'll send the angels to be beside you and to guide you. But then you still have to get up because God asked Elijah 2 times, what are you doing here? Why are you still in the place that you're at? Why are you still doing what you're doing and you haven't decided to get up and fight for what I have for you? You're stronger than Jezebel. Jezebel is just a nobody giving you an illusion of somebody that making you scared for nothing. She ain't got no power. She don't have no power. And that's what you got to understand. You have the power. Anything that come up against you in your life, if you go in with a right mindset, you can overcome it because nothing is impossible with God. Absolutely nothing. God can turn the worst situations around. And then the other thing, guys, know his voice and listen for the instruction. And that's it. That's what I have for you today. And the story of Elijah and Jezebel is just to let you know that God will show up in your time of need. He'll answer you when you call. But you got to have faith that he'll answer you. See, you can't do anything not believing that you have God inside of you. And once you understand who God is inside of you, you understand the power that you possess on the inside of you. The same God that spoke and said, let there be light, is the same God that dwells on the inside of you. So when you take off the limitations of God, shut it up, Duchess. I'm sorry, guys. Shut it up. When you take off the limitations of God for your mind and exchange it for a mind of God, you'll get further in life. You'll have more. You'll do more. You'll begin to move mountains. The reason why I can't stay in a sunken place in my life is because I know too much about God. See, I become depressed. I become displaced. I become agitated when things don't look like what God said. So if God say I'm blessed, then that means I expect to look blessed. Come on, somebody. When God says that I'm his queen, I expect to look like his queen. See, God is not a man that he should lie. So why would I look degraded, busted, broke, and sick and all this when that's not the God I serve? So when I take my moment to rest, I'm only resting because I know I have an encounter coming with God. In order to do what God called me to do, I got to rest for the occasion. So it's okay to rest. It's okay to do what you need to do. God will send that angel in your life to let you know that. But when it's time to get up from your decapitated place. Get up and shake those Lazarus clothes off of you. Get up and get from out there those grave clothes, because God is not dead. You keep going to dead places looking for an alive God. You keep going back to the past looking for God to do something that he's telling you is in your future. You keep running and talking about the same old thing that put you where you at when God's telling you stop speaking death and start speaking life. Shut it up, Duchess. So listen, guys, this is Dr. Michelle, and this is what God gave me, and I wanted to share with you guys. I am going to try to start doing my morning motivations again daily. Excuse me, guys. You think I'm playing with you? I'm not playing with you. And the reason why I told y'all stop laughing at me, because I'm not ashamed to kick this cage on this live and tell him shut up, because that's what you got to do. The devil would use anything and anybody to take you off your course. See, the goal was to distract me from giving what God gave me, but you see, I never missed a beat. Don't get distracted by the little things that the devil send your way, because you're bigger than the little things. God is bigger. You understand what I'm saying? Too many times you waste your time worrying about what people are going to say, and people will talk you out your own blessing. Too many times you got the wrong people in your ear telling you the things that God didn't tell them to say to distract you off of your course. Some of you have lost a blessing of God listening to other people. Sometimes you want to worry about what's going to happen when God told you to step out on faith, because he sees further than what you see. You can't lose because God has already won the victory. And if I know God has already called me to be a winner, then why am I going to let fear be in my way? Fear is false illusion appearing real. It means that it's not real. And anytime you move off of fear, you already gone wrong, because when you don't move because you're scared about something, you're moving off of a fruit that don't even belong to God. Because God said, I did not give you the spirit of fear, but love, courage, and a sound mind. That means that you are to move off the fruits of God and not the things of the devil. So listen, I got to go, guys. And I appreciate all of you guys jumping on here. I have to go because, like I said, I got so much to do. But thank you so much. Praise God for the person who said I'm a great teacher. I wanted to jump on TikTok and share it to Facebook because, like I said, I don't know why Facebook don't let me download it anymore. I'm going to check that out. But, guys, go to my page, and I'm going to be doing more of this. If you go to my page now, you'll see me and my fiance. I'm dating a trucker, so I have a lot of material about that. And I do a lot of material, just different lifestyles and overcoming clinical depression. I know that clinical depression, guys, I thought was, at first I used to think it was a joke, right? And but I know that it is something very serious, right? So I have some things on that to encourage someone, because I do have trigeminal autonomous encephalitis, which has a lot to do with my clinical depression. That is the most painful acute disease in the world. You guys that don't know of it, please look it up. But when I tell you, if I can stand here, you can stand here. If I can go through what I go through, then you should be able to go through what you go through. And that's the reason why I'm called to the purpose that I'm called to in my life. See, can't nobody do better than what I do at what God called me to do. Let me say that again. Can't nobody do better at what I'm called to do. So when you get in your lane and do what God called you to do, you'll understand why you can't stay in the cave. Because I don't know anybody else that has what I have. And if I do, it's not the same. You understand what I'm saying? So I can't go to somebody and say, can you do my call in my life, my purpose? Can you tell somebody about the pain that I encounter? No, I have to stand up here and do what God has called me to do to encourage somebody else. So when I'm telling you that if I can deal with electrical shocks in my head, because that's what it's equivalent to, better and bigger than aneurysm. It is likely, it is definitely, it is not a could be, it is the most painful acute disease in the world. So if I can deal with the pain, and I know God is real, because there's no way I could be standing here after going through that pain, then you can understand that I'm a living testimony. Right? So if I could do it, you could do it. So all you got to do is make up your mind, in your mind, that you're going to serve God. That's the first step. Make up in your mind who you believe God is, and then get to know God a little bit better. Get to understand him a little bit better. In order to know God, guys, you have to spend time in God's presence. Right? It's not no hocus pocus type of stuff. God is not a genie. He's not going to jump at your beck and call because he don't know you like that. And I know you say, well, I came from God, and you said the Bible said he knows the hair of my head. But listen, God is not going to acknowledge you before the world when you don't acknowledge him in the privacy of your home or church or whatever. That's why the word said a lot of people going to get to the gates of heaven, and God going to be like, I don't know you. Because anything that you cherish and you love, you acknowledge it before the world. And so if I acknowledge God before the world, God said, even your secret prayers, I'll make it open to the world. If you acknowledge me, Dr. Michelle, I'm going to show the world that you're blessed. So anything that you love, you have to acknowledge, because if you hide that thing, then guess what? God can't bless your mess in the dark. That's why everything that's done in the dark comes to the light. People have it twisted and be like, oh my God, I didn't know that was ever going to come out. But listen, God is a God that respects karma. Karma respects God. If you do it and you plant that seed, it's going to come up. Listen, I'm done, because y'all, I'll talk all day about God. I'll talk all day about God, because that's just how good he is. I'm in love with God. I love him. I love him. I love him. Because I know I could have been dead in God. I know that he has had tremendous grace over my life. I know that he has blessed my family. I know that he has did a work in me that nobody else could do. I know that if I change my mind about what's got me down, then God will bless me in my righteous thought. See, your thought has everything to do with what you're going through. Look at your surrounding. Everything that you in is because of your thoughts. Everything that has happened is because of your thoughts. But if you change your life and you get out that dark place, watch God begin to bless you and be like, man, I'm so thankful that I did it God's way. I'm so thankful that I began to listen to God, because my blessings are begin to flow. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless you. And so now what I want to do, I do have a little silly side. I want to sing too. I want to be a singing preacher. You understand? My dad sang, my granddaddy sang, and I'm a prodigy of preachers, right? But I didn't know it was gonna be me. I have a twin brother, and my twin brother has a calling on his life too. He preaches a little different, but I wanna sing as well. And I can sing a little bit. Just cut it out. I can sing a little bit. I just think if I practice, and I used to sing in church sometimes, and so yeah, I can sing, but I'm not like one of those great singers, but I can sing. So I'm going to try that. But anyway, you guys be blessed. I'm going to go. This is Dr. Michelle. Listen for the encounter with God. Be prepared for the encounter with God. And if you have to go back and look at this again, go back and look at it again, because I promise you, it's going to leave you in a better place than where you were. And if you enjoyed what I shared with you today, as I stated, I'm going to get myself back together and begin to share with you guys on a daily basis again. It may be like 20 minutes because my schedule is about to change, but we'll see. And if it doesn't, I'm still going to make time for God, because I do it every morning anyway, so I'm going to try to do that. God bless you guys. All right, this is Dr. Michelle. You guys have a blessed day. Peace.